this is Zipper Designs for Noble Desktop, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this cool 3D flipping sign in Adobe After Effects. So we'll be animating the sign to flip around in a 3D space. We're going to position the sides to line up with each other, flipping one side around so it'll be legible once it's turned around, and we're going to put them together in a pre-comp and basically animate that. And then like the last details are just like adding a drop shadow, some motion blur, nothing too big. But as you can see, this is what the project looks like when we're going to be done. And I would say it's really important to learn 3D in After Effects because you see it everywhere. Like title cards, UI, logos and ads, anything that wants a bit more dynamism in its animation. It's a lot easier to learn than traditional 3D, being that it's actually more like 2.5D. It uses 2D elements to make the illusion that it's 3D. It's an easy way to add a lot more depth and animation objects to your projects that you won't get anywhere else in the program. So we'll be relying on these assets that I put together, like you know, these sign layers, the written text, and there's background too. But all of this is going to be bundled together. You'll find them all in the video description below. So let's get started. Alright, so when you open this project, you're going to be seeing these two sides of the sign, side A, side B. And so first there's a little bit of setup in order to make this work. So make sure, we're going to select both of these guys, and make sure that they're aligned with each other. If you don't see this, you go to like Windows, Align, and you'll see this panel. And you're going to hit Align horizontally, or, you know, align, whoops. You're going to hit basically Align horizontally to try and get them to be perfectly on top of each other. Resize them if needed. They should be a correct size, but I've got them down here. Both these guys are about like 36%. And okay, so with these two sign sides, I'm gonna flub up on that later in this video, I am sure. But select both these guys and then hit this switch. It looks like a cube. And let me just make sure that both of them are turned on. So that's the 3D switch. And you saw instantly all these options opened up. And so now we're working in this 2.5D space. So now you see that there's more dimensions to work with. There's an X, a Y, and a Z now. So if I hit like position, not only is it moving in like X and Y, it's also moving in Z. You could kind of see that it's curving. And Z, you could think of it as, so X is horizontal, flat, Y is vertical, up and down, and Z is in and out, like towards you or away. And you'll see this in like rotation as well. You know, we could do like Z rotation and a Y rotation, like, you see what I mean? That kind of thing. But yeah, so those are part of the options now that 3D is enabled. Alright, so we're gonna select our side B and hit P for position. And in the Z direction, put in 5. The reason being is that we're trying to separate these two layers a tiny, tiny bit so they're not right on top of each other. You know, even signs in real life, even if they're on paper, have a little bit of space away from each other, even if it's a little bit hard to see. If we don't do this otherwise, then the side A is just going to be covering everything the whole time. So yeah, we want a little bit of distance. Then we're going to be flipping this guy. So again, make sure that side B is selected. Right click on side B, we'll go over to transform and flip horizontal. Here, I'll show you. We'll hide that top layer. And as you can see, it's backwards. Reason being is when we flip this whole thing around, we want it to still be legible. And if you think about it in real life, like when you're not seeing the other side of a sign from wherever you're positioned in space, technically the other side of the sign is backwards to you. You got to walk around to the other side of the sign in order to see it the right way round. All right, now with that setup done, select both of them, right click, and go to pre-comp. We're going to call this sign flip. I'm going to recolor this to fuchsia. You can see my finished product over there. And now it's a pre-comp. We're going to make this a pre-comp so it's easy to update. If you ever want to swap out any graphics, you go into the pre-comp and then, you know, just change one of these layers around. But on the pre-comp level, enable 3D, and this is important. You see this guy? This is usually the rasterize layers button, but it's also the collapse transformation. So let's get to animating this. So with our new pre-comp selected, we're going to be hitting R for rotation. We've got all these options, but don't be scared. We're just going to be animating a couple of these guys. So with the playhead at the origin, like the very start, we are going to be animating the Y rotation, so it flips around like this. Yeah, just like that. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is let's just set a keyframe over here. And then let's move over to like 2 seconds in. And we're going to set the Y rotation to 225. This is for like overshooting, because we want this thing to like flip all the way around and then kind of like rock back and forth a little bit. Let's go to 4 seconds in about. Let's get this guy down to like, I'm going to do 195, but basically now it like kind of rocks back a little more, but not as much as before. You know how like when things rock back and forth in real life, you know, it's heavy, but then it kind of like slows down. And then like 5 seconds, like a little past 5 seconds, I'm going to put this guy at like 5:10, 5:09. I want it to go up a little bit, so like it keeps swinging back and forth, but as you can see, it's like rocking less and less. Yeah, I think that's it. And I want to make them all easy ease, so select them all, right click, key from assistant, easy ease. So if I play this, you can see that, yeah, it's flipping just like that, flips all the way around, it's legible, it swings back a little bit, back and forth. So the last thing, if you have your effects and presets panel open here, you could type in drop shadow and get that. You can also right click and go to effects, perspective, drop shadow. So yeah, drag and drop it onto our pre-comp over here. And just a couple of settings here, pretty quick. We're going to make our shadow color, yes I know, we're going to make it just a darker version of the background color. So I dropped it from the background, blurred it down here. For the distance, I think maybe put it at, 15 and 5 for softness. So it's it fades out a little bit, and there's just a little bit more of a drop shadow. Yeah, that's it for the drop shadow. And then the last touch is turning on motion blur, which is this 3 circle thing over here. Make sure that the motion blur switch is turned on over here, and that'll add, as it sounds, just a bit of blur as it moves around. And you want to do that kind of thing at the end just because it takes a good amount of processing power. But yeah, here we go. So that's the basics of 3D and After Effects. This stuff is really cool and versatile. You can use the fundamentals here to make any kind of flipping text or objects. You can even parent 2 pieces of footage together to flip them around as a transition. You can think of like weather vanes or spinning 2D tops, unfolding origami, like anything that would look cool with depth and movement. So that's it for this tutorial, but definitely stay tuned for the next installment of our 3D and After Effects series. Next up, we're going to show you guys how to use a 3D camera for some more dynamic shots and angles. And yeah, so let us know down in the comments if you'd like to see a specific tutorial, technique, or like just share whatever project that you're working on. We'd love to hear. And yeah, hope you enjoyed learning how to make this 3D flipping sign in After Effects. This has been Sapporo Designs from Noble Desktop.